Hey guys, it's Handy Jeff, and today we are replacing a sink drain strainer, or basket strainer as they're called. That thing's grody. We're going to replace it with a nice black finish Kohler. So if you want to know how to do that, stick around and follow along. A few things that you might need: screwdriver, a pair of channel locks depending on how your other strainer is put in, some plumber's putty, and then your strainer. I'm also going to be using a flashlight because it's dark underneath there. All right, all strainers are put together different ways. Some of them you unscrew up here like this one. Others you have to tighten or loosen down below. There's a nut. So we're just going to go ahead and take this strainer apart up here because I know this one comes apart just like this. There we have it. There's the top of the strainer, and you can see this old strainer is kind of grody and it's made of plastic. So we're going to get rid of that because this has seen better days. Once you get the old strainer out, we're going to try to get as much of this old plumber's putty off as we can. Sometimes you need to use a putty knife or a screwdriver. There's a multitude of different ways to get it off. I'm just going to use a fingernail to get this thing cleaned up. Okay guys, if you're not familiar with the bottom part of a sink, I'll explain it to you. This portion right here is a P-trap. This is the dishwasher T. There will be a dishwasher that will get installed on here. There currently isn't one. And then this is where your basket strainer is. Like I said, sometimes there is a piece that you need to essentially loosen up that's held on with a nut. Like I showed you this one though, it just came apart at the top. Now you don't always need to remove the P-trap, but if you do, be aware there's going to be water inside of it. So what we're going to do is use this little bucket and get this bad boy loosened up. Once you get it loosened up, there will be some water that's going to come out. And so I've got a bucket there to catch it. All right, now that we've got that free, we're just going to set that to the side. All right, let's get this Duo strainer by Kohler opened up. All right, excellent. We're just going to go ahead and take apart this strainer. What's cool about the way that this strainer works is it also is tightened by hand and a screwdriver once you've got everything on. Okay, for this particular strainer, the way that this is going to go is it goes strainer, then some plumber's putty, and that goes down in your hole. Then on the bottom portion, you'll put the rubber gasket, followed by the washer, followed by the ring. And you've got to have the ring in a position where you can tighten the screws that come with it into these holes. All right, here's our strainer body. We're going to take some plumber's putty, which I've taken out of here. And basically it's just like when you were a kid and you made Play-Doh snakes. That's essentially what you were doing with this plumber's putty. Go ahead and make a nice thick snake, and essentially all you need is for it to wrap all the way around. We're not quite there yet, so we're just going to stretch it out a hair more. And this is way too much plumber's putty, but I'd rather use too much than not enough. And then we're just going to go ahead and stomp this little guy down here like that, work it all the way down in, so that way it already kind of has a seal all the way across. If you look from the top, you can see there's plumber's putty around all aspects, and there's going to be a whole lot more that's going to get squeezed out. So let's go ahead and put this into the sink. All right, so plumber's putty end just goes straight down. I'm going to put it so my Kohler is facing the faucet. In case you can't see, there's a little Kohler badge right there. Now we push this down in here. And that's all there is to it up here. It appears the old ring from the old strainer was still up there. So I just went ahead and took it off. Now, remember what I said. It goes black washer, followed by steel washer, followed by the nut itself.
Okay, I found this on the web for washer followed by steel washer. Check it out.
Okay, Siri. Apparently Siri just wanted to get it in the video. We're gonna put it on. It does end up going like this way. So this way goes up. So the cool thing about this strainer, all you have to do is get it hand tight. And there's no grabbing onto anything with channel locks or anything along those lines. But before I go ahead and tighten these screws down, I'm just going to check to make sure the Kohler is the direction I want it facing up top. If you look at that, it's pretty close, but I'm going to spin it just a hair this way, just like that. All right, and now that we are down in here, if you were looking at this metal washer, there are 3 spots to be able to put screws in. So we're going to start our 3 screws. And then this is going to act very similarly to a garbage disposal, if you've ever put a garbage disposal in. If you haven't, this is going to be one of the more simple strainer installs, which is pretty amazing, if you ask me. So we're just going to get these so that they're tight. Okay, so the next step then is we're just going to tighten these, and we're going to move from side to side here. Because we don't want to tighten all on one. It's kind of like when you tighten the lug nuts on a tire, you know, you want to jump from place to place. We're going to do that with this as well, until we've got it as tight as we can get it. Guys, while I'm doing this, I'm going to take the time to mention that I will have an Amazon referral link down below for this particular strainer, because I really like these. They are expensive compared to your normal big box store brands or something, anything like that. But man, this is so much easier than having to tighten a nut that's down here and make sure that you've got it stays lined up and everything. They really put some good engineering into this, if you ask me. All right, we are good and tight. The next step is to put our drain back on. All right, so once again, this is what we're dealing with from the old strainer. We've got to remove this body. So what I'm going to do is grab a hold of this with a pair of channel locks, just twist. And there we have it. I do tend to go above and beyond. This is going to be a rental house of mine, so I don't want to get called back here. What this is a little thread sealer, and so I'm just going to go ahead and put this around the bottom of the strainer. Now, this should not be required. I say should not because you probably could put this together and you won't have any troubles. However, time is money, and like I said, this is going to be a rental house, so I want to keep everything not leaking for as long as I possibly can. So what I am going to do then is take a look-see here, make sure that everything is going to line up. If it doesn't, good news is I have a little bit of adjustment inside of this down piece. So I've got my gasket. This is a gasket that goes on a tailpiece. We're going to go ahead, make sure your gasket is all the way down in your nut. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and just hand tight this little guy here. Once it is hand tight, I'm going to go ahead and come in with a towel, wipe away all that excess pipe dope that I put on there, or thread sealant, whatever you want to call it. And like I said, this is definitely not required. This is above and beyond. Like if I was doing this at a customer's house, I would not be putting thread sealant in here. However, like I said, with this being a rental, you never know who's gonna come over and bump stuff when they move stuff in. And I'm gonna get called out and say there's a leaky drain. When in reality, all they need to do is tighten one of these nuts. And they just refuse to do it. So, I'm gonna go ahead and get both these nuts tightened up. Now this thread sealant, it makes it a little bit of a mess, but you know what? I'm going to end up just wiping everything down with a rag at the end anyway. All right, and if you have a dishwasher, you'll go ahead and reconnect your dishwasher right here. Otherwise, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come in and just wipe down this entire trap, all this good stuff. Crank down on these one more time, just to make sure they're pretty tight. Same thing up here. All right, now for the fun part. We're going to take our pair of channel locks and tighten this nut down. Make sure there is a strong and tight grip right there. All right, perfect. And we are almost finished. We're just going to take our excess plumber's putty, and sometimes you got to use a screwdriver to get it out. Sometimes you can just grab it using the excess putty. But as you can see, we definitely overdid it on the amount of putty we needed. And this will continue to probably ooze out over the next couple days. Just come back and clean it off. But we're going to take this putty, put it back into our container. For the fun part, we've got our strainer, and we're just going to go ahead, set this down in there, and we're going to fill this bad boy up. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this compartment most of the way full, just because we want to make sure there's absolutely no leaks. All right, once we have enough water in here, we've got a few inches of water. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull this up and set the strainer so that it won't, there we go. Then we're going to come down and make sure there aren't any leaks. If there are any leaks, chances are it's going to be out of where that dishwasher tee is, because that is wide open right now, as you might be able to see. But hey, no leaks otherwise. That is excellent. Come back up here, and it looks like that sink strainer belongs. Guys, check out the way that bad boy looks. That looks so much better than the old one, and it's definitely not made of plastic, which is huge. So, guys, this has been Handy Jeff. Remember, grab yourself one of these Duo strainers down in the link in the description. Otherwise, we'll see you in another video. This has been Handy Jeff. Thank you so much for watching from the bottom of my heart. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Let's see you in another video.